Supporting veterans and scrutinizing public expenditure are not opposing positions. Responsible scrutiny is part of supporting veterans because their service should never become a shield behind which financial decisions are protected from public examination. The athletes deserve our respect, the public deserves the figures, and the people controlling the money should be able to provide both. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, it's part 3 of our Invictus Birmingham investigation. They did reply, the Office of Veteran Affairs / Ministry of Defense, and we are going to go over that letter together, including what I sent them in case you guys missed parts 1 and 2. If you are new here, hi, my name is Rachel. I'm an airline pilot by day, and when I'm on the ground, I like to study business, and so far the charity of businesses from what it looks like. Parts 1 and 2 were actually kind of, I guess, a subset of my original investigation into Invictus Games Vancouver, where I'll be very delicate here, I was led to a document that was uploaded sort of on the back end of the Invictus Vancouver website, and then, surprise, surprise, the website was taken down. And so, yeah, I still have the document. It is hosted on my website, montecitoMinimalist.com. What is that document, you ask? I'm so glad you asked. It is the redacted document between the Canadian government and Invictus Games. Why is the budget redacted? That is the question. Now, I thought maybe to get ahead of the curve, I would go ahead and start asking now what the budget looks like for Invictus Birmingham. And I got a stack, got lots and lots of stacks, but you know, things were still redacted. So my aspirations were shot down. And they're redacted for a variety of reasons. One, the Ministry of Defense said that they think it would hurt the commercial interest if the public found out how much Invictus was actually, how much they had raised privately. Which kind of makes sense because the UK government has promised an underwrite of up to £26 million. Sorry, I always say dollars in these videos, but it's pounds. I'm going to try to be better about that. Yeah, and so I can kind of see where maybe the Ministry of Defense doesn't want to show their cards. But anyway, if, you know, they're still redacting stuff. They're even redacting things like risks. That's in part 1, by the way. If you want to see like the area where they redacted the risk, like their own personal meeting notes, and they're like, risk, like black that out. Anyway. So this is part 3 of my investigation, and I'm going to ask you, because I'm kind of at a standstill. I have a couple of questions in the back of my head, but I'm kind of need your help here in what else to ask. Put your questions down below when and let me know. But if you've watched parts 1 and 2, and then you're watching this, and you're like, oh my gosh, Rachel, there is such a glaringly obvious question here. Like, please put it down below. Because this is a collaborative group effort. So, yeah. Oh, and before I begin, I do stand corrected. So I did a short where I said Harry has not been to a Warrior Games since 2023. That is not true. My apologies. Vanity Fair, right here. 1 week after testifying in a UK courtroom, Harry traveled to San Diego to support wounded service members. This was 2023. So, in 13 years. Anyway. All right, so here's the email. Now again, part 2 has this, but I'm going to read it just for you guys to catch up. All right, so I would like to submit the following follow-up request for recorded information under the Freedom of Information Act 2000. Incremental release of funding. In your response, you state that funding is allocated on a contingent needs-led basis and released incrementally. Please provide any recorded information relating to the criteria, milestones, reporting requirements, approval processes, or financial conditions used to determine when Birmingham Invictus Games 2027 funding is released incrementally, any internal guidance, assessment framework, or decision-making process used to approve subsequent release of funding, any conditions attached to the release of additional grant tranches, financial monitoring and risk reporting. Please provide any copies of financial monitoring reports, progress reports, cash flow forecasts or updates, variance reports, risk assessment, sponsorship risk assessments, delivery assurance reports, or financial oversight documents submitted by or relating to Invictus UK 2027, limited in connection with public funding for the Birmingham Invictus Games 2027. Sponsorship shortfall risk. Your response states that the $26 million underwrite was agreed as a contingency to ensure delivery of the games if sufficient commercial sponsorship was not secured. Just as a little aside, the Vancouver Games cost $63 million. That is almost $120,000 per participant over the course of 9 days. Let's continue. Please provide any recorded information relating to anticipated, projected, or actual commercial sponsorship shortfalls, discussions of risk associated with insufficient sponsor funding, contingency planning related to sponsorship gaps, financial modeling, or assessments regarding sponsorship dependency. Delivery cost. Your response notes that the expenses referred to in Grant Addendum 2 relate to delivery costs. Please provide any available breakdown of these delivery costs, including categories of expenditure and allocated amounts. Public funding projections. Please provide any recording information confirming whether the public funding provided to Invictus UK 2027 Limited includes any clawback provisions, repayment obligations, underspend requirement returns, recovery mechanisms, financial guarantees, or other protections for public funds, which there was. I was kind of repeating myself here. I wanted to see if there was more, because there's clawback. Like, I did read that, but I wanted to see if there was another internal document. No joy. If such provisions exist, please provide the relevant clauses, schedules, correspondence, or policy documents setting them out. Public interest and redactions. Where information is withheld under Section 43-2 commercial interest, I request that the department consider whether partial disclosure, summary disclosure, or disclosure with limited redactions may be possible given the substantial public interest in transparency and accountability surrounding the use of taxpayer-backed funding to the games. Please and thank you, and then I just say electronic copies only. All right. So here is what they responded. I am treating your correspondence as a request for information under the Freedom of Information Act 2000. A search for the information has now been completed within the Ministry of Defense, and I can confirm that some information is held. Regarding incremental release of funding, I can confirm that no additional information is held in this regard. This information was provided to you under your previous request, which we didn't see too much of. Regarding financial management risk reporting, sponsorship shortfalls, and delivery costs, I must advise that recorded information identified falls entirely within the scope of the exemption provided for Section 43-2 of the FOIA commercial interests, as the Ministry of Defense considers disclosure of the information would be likely to prejudice the commercial interest of any legal person. As Section 3 is a qualified exemption, I have carried out a public interest test. I recognize that there is public interest in openness and accountability in the use of public funds, and disclosure would enable the public to scrutinize public spending and provide clarity around value for money. However, I consider that this is outweighed by the public interest in protecting the department's and others' commercial interest alongside the authority's ability to achieve value for money. Disclosing the information could prejudice the MODs and other commercial relationships and impact the department's bargaining position in the future. Moreover, the information could be exploited for profit or gain and could impact Invictus Games 2027's ability to secure sponsors and negotiate contracts essential to the games. Upon consideration, the balance of public interest lies in withholding the requested information under Section 43-2. I'm sorry, guys. I really tried. I tried every which way that I could think of. All right, it continues under Section 16. The department is required to provide advice and assistance to requesters, it may be helpful for you to note that while Section 43 is currently engaged once the Invictus Games are complete, and therefore all contractual or sponsorship negotiations have concluded, this may no longer be the case. May no longer be the case. And then the same thing is the same conclusion as last time. If you're not satisfied, yada, yada, yada. Now, it does say here, if informal resolution is not possible and you are dissatisfied, then you may apply for an independent internal review by contacting the Information Rights Compliance Team, ground floor, MOD, main building, Whitehall, Sierra Whiskey 1 Alpha 2 Hotel Bravo, or by email. Then they gave me an email. Please note that any request for an internal review must be made within 40 working days of the date on which the attempt to reach an informal resolution has come to an end. If you're made dissatisfied following an internal review, you may take your complaint to the Information Commissioner under the provisions of Section 50 of the Freedom of Information Act. Please note that the Information Commissioner will not normally investigate your case until the MOD internal review process has been completed. Further details of the role and powers of Information Commissioner can be found on the Commissioner's website. Yours sincerely, Office of Veteran Affairs. Couple things I don't understand. I don't understand why a government entity has commercial interest when it comes to an event for veterans, a charitable event for veterans. I'm trying to figure that out. I also understand not wanting to release anything because hypothetically, if, first and foremost, we know Prince Harry doesn't like to fundraise. He said in those text messages that were leaked, it was in the Sentabale annual report that he wanted to step back. You know, it's well known, and I get it. You know, I understand. So he doesn't want to fundraise. So hypothetically, let's just throw that out there. Let's just say that Invictus has $0, right? Because there was some sponsorship that was like, oh, we're gonna sponsor Invictus, I think, by like providing volunteers and stuff. So I don't think they did like a financial contribution. I think they're just providing like volunteers for the event. So hypothetically, let's just say they have $0 raised. Now, if you do that and that comes out, I could see where that would hurt Invictus's ability to fundraise, and they would have a heavier reliance on going to the government for either the full amount of the $26 million pound underwrite, or if they would want to increase that because they didn't meet their original goals. Because I didn't see anything in the paperwork that said that, I mean, it said up to a $26 million pound underwrite, but remember, also in part 1, when they released those documents that had the 2 different graphs of how Invictus was going to report, it was going to either report to an intermediary and then they were going to report to the king, or Invictus itself was just going to report directly to the king. Obviously, being the son of the king, I think we all know which direction they're leaning into, you know, but we don't know yet. Now, this reminds me a little bit of a story. It's a very famous story in like the Las Vegas corporate world. So when Steve Wynn built the Bellagio, this was like mid-90s, right? It opened up in 1998, but I think he started in 96. He wanted to bring luxury and glamour to the Strip. That just wasn't a thing. Now there's like 3 Hermeses, there's a bunch of Chanels, you know, but like before, when he was starting like Bellagio, it was like, it was a little bit tacky, right? So Steve Wynn wants to open a shopping center in the Bellagio, and he calls up his friend Giorgio Armani, and he says, Giorgio, do you want a store in my Esplanade? And the story is, I don't know if it's true or not, but the story is that Giorgio laughed and was like, Armani in Las Vegas, okay, that's stupid. And kind of was like, it's tacky. We don't do, you gotta think, Excalibur and like Luxor, right? Those were like the hot, and Mirage, but those were like the hot places. But it was like a little cheesy, right? And so Steve Wynn said, well, Giorgio, I saved you the best spot, right across from Chanel. But, I guess if you don't want anything, I can't do anything about it. And Giorgio goes, wait, you got me across Chanel? Well, you didn't say Chanel was going to be across from me. And so, and then Armani signed and then everyone else followed. But the point is, Chanel had not signed on. Actually, Steve didn't have anything. He, if you build it, they will come kind of a thing. And so that's how Steve Wynn sort of brought glamour to the Strip in that capacity, in those high-end shops. So that's why I'm sort of somewhat reminded of keeping your cards close to the chest, as it were, or whatever that saying is, when it comes to this kind of thing of them going, we can't really tell you what we raised so far because we don't want it, they don't want it to hurt them, I think, in the long term, but I'm just kind of like, you know what I mean? Anyway, I'm curious, I'm kind of at a standstill. The only thing that I'm thinking about asking is if there's I think what it is what is the percentage of the 26 million pounds? What is that? Is that a third of their budget? Is it going to be a 75 million, 76 million pound games and you guys are providing the last 26 and they got to raise 50? Because remember, the last games were 63 million. The games before that were 40, I believe. 40, 42 or something like that. So I'm like, is it half? With this economic environment, has it changed? You know what I mean? Like, is it like, what is the percentage? I don't know if they would necessarily release that because then we can kind of Frankenstein the sponsors and sort of figure out who does what kind of budget, and what chunk is paying where and how much. And that's kind of the only thing. Now, let me know. I mean, if you guys haven't watched parts 1 and 2, go watch parts 1 and 2. See did I miss anything? If I missed something here in my original response letter, should I have asked something differently? Is there maybe a different angle that you think I could do it? I mean, I could do that in, independent internal review by contacting the information rights compliance team. Like, I could do that. I don't know. I mean, it's the government. They're not going to give me anything else. But, I'm just, like, I might do that. I might try to send one more letter out and just be like, hey, what's the total? And who knows? Maybe those numbers don't even exist, really. But you let me know. Let's make this like a collaborative group effort now to see if we can find out, what is being... Because, and again, there's nothing that really says this is what we're going to pay when you reach this. It's not like, well, when you raise 10 million, we'll give you 2. Right? There's no like kind of stacking. I don't know if it's just here, is it basically a bank that just, here's your account, here's 26 million pounds, use it whenever I don't know. So put your questions down below. I'll sift through them. And I'll try to write another letter. But, I'm just kind of like, okay, So that's all. That's all I got for you. Sorry it couldn't be more, but, at least we're all in this together. So that's good. Again, usually have a nice little conclusion / outro. Don't really have it. So I guess have a really, a nice rest of your week and a good weekend. And if you have a pet them for me. Extra cuddles from Rachel, the Curious Pilot. That's all I have. Oh, if you want to contact me directly, there's a contact form on my shop's website, montecitoMinimalist.com. You can go there. You can shop my wonderful, cute little cheeky satirical store. I have a retired yacht girl collection. My #1 selling product is the Montecito Yacht Club sweatshirt. That's right. It doesn't even exist in real life. It's just it's just a fake place that we all have sweatshirts to now. So there's that. I have the Burn After Reading candle set. It comes with a wick cutter and matches. And don't worry, wicks are complimentary with the purchase of any candle at my shop. So can't say that about other stores. Anyway, that's all I have. You guys have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.